Hey guys, welcome back. Sorry about the first video a little quick. I forgot about the this side right over here, the abilities, powers. But yeah, see for example here, Will's character, it goes across over here, so that's why, like I said, it was a lot easier to just put it in the training section. But again, if you wanted to make this go down more, like for example the wisdom, then you would have to go to the wisdom bar right over here, and then click this right over here. And then you can just make that box even more by changing the E27, E37, so you'd make that E like 40 basically. See, then it goes like more, or 45. See, the box is more. But I found that actually 37 is pretty good because it can just hit right over here, and then you can just add it. So it's kind of like an honor system thing. Yeah. Okay, but anyway, so this is the level progression right over here. So this is how I based, just a standard, of the increments of how much points they get. Basically, all offensive points increases by increments of 4 each level up, defense by 2, and miscellaneous by 2. That's just how I made it. If you feel that it's something even better, you can do it yourself. Okay, so the enemy generator. So this is the big thing right here. So the main instruction on this is how to use it. It's actually very easy to use because of the new battle system we created that allows you, the opponents, to attack quickly. So I know as a GM, the hardest part is in fact keeping track of points and all this crazy stuff. So luckily the players keep track of their own health, while you are able to keep track of your own guys, while at the same time not have to worry too much about what's going on. So luckily there's two main things. There's the enemy generator right over here, and then there's the streamlined battlefield, the next one over here. It looks pretty similar, but let me just show you. So the enemy generator right here, if you scroll down, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 enemies. So I found that enemies of ranks about number 5 typically is pretty good. So, and it's very easy to track. And then if you look over here in the streamlined battlefield, you have your 5 guys here, see? So you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 5 enemies that are actually on the battlefield, and then 5 enemies that are ready to be generated on this spreadsheet. So this is how it basically works. On the very top part of the spreadsheet right over here, there's a low end range and a high end range. What I typically found is that enemies that are about 5 levels higher than the players are typically like the sweet spot in terms of bosses. So what I like to do is, let's say for example, like the characters right now are level 1 and level 5. So we're gonna put level 1 and level 5 up there for the high range. So basically the algorithm randomly generates these numbers right over here. And the way it does that is, if we go over here to, for example, number 1, if you look right over here, right, it picks a random number between 30 and 40, right? And then it picks again a random number between 30 or 40. And then it subtracts basically the sum, which is this, of these two, and then it drops it in there. It does the same thing over here. Now the reason this number is negative actually is because when you're a level 1, you actually don't have that many points, like, in the 40 range. But that's because when you're building, like, your very basic levels, you want your guys to have, like, a sort of an estimated amount, right? So you can actually change that by clicking over here. Let's say instead of 30 and 40, we want a random level of like 20, of like 10 and 20. And then we do that again. We want to have a random level of 10 and 20. Okay, so it's still a little bit high, as you can see, like right over here. But let's make it 15. There we go, see? So now this character right here has a strength of 15, a dexterity of 10, and a wisdom of 9. And yeah, see? So his points were distributed, and he's a level 2 character. And that's how basically the enemies are generated. Now, luckily, if you notice some of these guys have wisdom here, you don't even really necessarily have to worry about that. But this guy right here, he has these basic, this error right over here. That's because he's a high level, because usually I say the boss number 5 would have an extremely high stat, and it's basically picking a number that's like 70, right? But there's no 70 points, there's only like 30 points. So the way we can do that, we can go to number 5 right over here. So let's say, see, it's like a random 60, it's basically picking a random number between 60 and this right over here, which is 34, which is impossible, right? So if we just change this, let's make this 10. There we go. See? So we just made it between 10 and this height. So between 10 and 34, it picked 16. And then it picked a number between 0 and this minus this right here minus this. So basically it's 34 minus 16, which is like 18. So it's between 0 and 18, it picked 1, and then the wisdom right over here picked the remainder of it, which was D139, this, minus C, minus this one, and then 17. So that's how the enemy generator works. So notice right over here we have the negative and the wisdoms. You don't actually have to worry about that, because the one thing that I found so far when you're GMing is that your NPCs are typically going to do one action. They're just going to fight, right? And then you don't have to worry about, oh, like their persuasion checks or something like that. So you don't necessarily have to worry about that too much. I'm going to show you why in a second here. So let's say that we want these 5 enemies right over here. These 5 enemies, we want them to fight. Basically, this cell right over here is bounty hunter number 1, bounty hunter number 2, bounty hunter number 3, 4, and 5, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So if you look at the health right over here, right, this whole line is basically for bounty hunter number 1 right over here. By the way, you can change this just by clicking here, by putting the name right over here. And then this whole line is number 2, this whole line is number 3, this whole line is number 4, this whole line is number 5. Same thing with the fortitude, finesse, and willpower. It's right over here. It's the same thing. So number 1, the same thing as number 1 over here. Number 2, it's the same thing as right over here. So that's how that works. So let's say we want to take these 5 enemies right over here, and we want to put them into the battlefield, which is basically where we play, right? In order to do that, all we need to do, notice how in the streamlined battlefield and the enemy generator, it's pretty much exactly the same from this H column right over here all the way to number 32. See, notice here, H and 32. These cells right over here and all this text is exactly the same as this one right over here. The only difference is that this one right over here in the enemy generator, notice how it says F64, F139, and it has all this crazy like algorithm to determine the health, right? In the battlefield, this does not have that. This just has straight numbers in there, see? Straight numbers. And then enemy generator, you have F6, F, crazy stuff, right? So what we need, right, is we basically want to copy these cells into this spreadsheet right over here, the numbers themselves. We don't want the references, that's what these are called, to the cells. We want the actual number. So we don't want F64 to be copied over here. We want 35 to be copied over here, because let me show you how to do that. So all you gotta do is just click at the very top of the cell right over here, drag all the way down. In Google Docs you can't edit copy because it's not Microsoft Excel, but the way you can do that is just Control C, and then you'll see this dashed line right over here, and then you open up the battlefield right over here, and then you click number 1. And then you're going to hit edit, paste special, values only. Now notice right over here it says 35 now. This is correct. And if you scroll down, all of these guys were basically adjusted. So remember that so here 40, 40, 35, 25. So here 40, 40, 35, 25. So I'm going to go into another video in terms of explaining how the battle system works, but that's just a quick overview of how the spreadsheet works. Let me just show you this right here. If I copy these guys right here, Control C, and I just paste it, Control V, see, we get all this crazy error stuff, right? So Control Z back. You always want to paste the values, not, so you want to copy, so let's hear, you want to copy, Control C, edit, paste paste special, oh, edit, paste special values only.